Hello, everybody. How are you? How are you?
Mr. President, what did Jeffrey Epstein mean in his emails when you said you knew about the girls?
I know nothing about that. They would have announced that a long time ago. It's really what did he mean when he spent all the time with Bill Clinton, with the president of Harvard, who you know that, is Summers, Larry Summers, whatever his name is, and all of the other people that he spent time with. Jeffrey Epstein and I had a very bad relationship for many years, but he also saw strength because I was president. So he dictated a couple of memos to himself. Give me a break. You got to find out what did he know with respect to Bill Clinton, with respect to the head of Harvard, with respect to all of those people that he knew, including J.P. Morgan Chase.
Incriminating in the files on Venezuela. Why not acting as a quiet on Venezuela? Sir, you've had a lot of meetings on Venezuela. I know you can't tell us what your next steps will be, but can you say, have you made up your mind on what you'd like to do for as far as action?
I sort of have made up my mind, yeah. I mean, I can't tell you what it would be, but I sort of made up. What do you say to some of your supporters who might not be excited about another foreign campaign? Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, I can't tell you what it is, but we made a lot of progress with Venezuela in terms of stopping drugs from pouring in. But we have a Mexico problem. We have a Colombia problem. Beating Colombia in the country. We're doing very well. Drugs coming into our country are greatly slowed, as you can imagine.
On tariff rollback, does this significantly change your message on affordability?
No, I just want to bring down some of the foods. Look, for the most part, the foods, when we cut back a little bit on those tariffs, will get the price down. But they're not competitive in this country, like tomatoes and bananas and things. We don't make them in this country. So there's no protection of our industries or our food products. So what we're going to do is we cut back. We'll see prices come down even lower. You have to understand we've all suffered from the Biden prices, which were much higher than they are right now. But I'll be able to get them down even lower, at least a little bit lower, possibly in some cases a lot normal.
More rollouts in the future with your tariff policies. Will there be more rollbacks in the future? Will you change anything else with tariffs?
I don't think it'll be necessary. We just had a little bit of a rollback on some foods, like coffee as an example, where the prices of coffee were a little bit high. Now they'll be on the low side in a very short period of time. We're very good at this. The problem is we inherited a country when we took over in January 20th, where the prices were through the roof. So they were up 30, 40, 50%. If we got them down 30%, that means they're still higher than where they were. We had a great 4 years, and I think this is going to be even much better. And in terms of affordability, it's not a good word for the Democrats. It's a good word for us because our prices are much lower and will soon be much, much lower than they were under the Democrats.
Mr. President, you said that tariffs do not increase prices for consumers, but now you're lowering tariffs.
I say they don't. I say they may, in some cases, but to a large extent, they've been borne by the country. As an example, we have virtually no inflation, and yet we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. So, we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. We've used tariffs to stop wars. You look at India and Pakistan. Look at so many wars I stopped just by saying I'm going to impose tariffs on your country if you're going to have a war. So in that case, it was nuclear war and I stopped it by using terrorists. But oftentimes, and to a large extent, the countries themselves pick up the tab. The companies pick up the tab, and I find that based on inflation, we have virtually no inflation. When I inherited the country from Sleepy Joe Biden, the inflation, it was the highest inflation in the history of our country, or at least 48 years. They use 48. I say it was the history. We have now. We're low inflation, going to be very soon even lower. But we'll get some of the prices down a little bit, which will bring them down to a new low. I say they don't. I say they may in some cases, but to a large extent they've been borne by the country. As an example, we have virtually no inflation. And yet, we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. When I inherited the country from sleepy Joe Biden, the inflation, it was the highest inflation in the history of our country, or at least 48 years. We'll get some of the prices down a little bit, which will bring them down to a new low.
How much of the cabbage is being picked up by Americans?
I think very little. I really think very little if you look at it. And when you add the trillions of dollars that the country is making, when you add the fact that I'll be giving back $2,000 or so to middle-income people, low-income people, everybody but the rich will be giving $2,000 back, and you add that in, when you add the fact that our country is extremely rich, and we have no wars, and we're respected again, when you add the fact that when China was threatening to us in terms of rare earth, I was able to solve it just by putting tariffs on China, and we made a deal a week later. When you add all of the benefits, the single greatest thing we have right now is the use of tariffs, and I used them properly. For years they've been used against us, and I think, whether you call them tariffs or anything else, if you didn't use them, you really would have an unguarded disaster on your hands.
On the rebate checks, how soon could Americans see those checks? In time for Christmas?
No, not for this year. It'll be next year sometime.
Do you have a time frame? How many months?
Sometime during the year. Next year. It's a lot of money, but we've taken in a lot of money from tariffs. The tariffs allow us to give a dividend if we want to do that. Now, we're going to do a dividend, and we're also going to be reducing debt. We have, because of Biden and others, we have 37 trillion in debt. So, we're going to be doing a dividend, which people will enjoy and spend and do what they want. But we're also going to be reducing debt very substantially.
Will those $2,000 payments be inflationary? Republicans said similar payments under Biden caused inflation.
Yeah. Well, the difference is, this is money earned, as opposed to money that was made up. You know that money was made up. Biden gave, the Inflation Reduction Act, which did not reduce inflation, and it wasn't meant to, and they admitted it was a phony name. But they spent hundreds of billions of dollars on a fake deal called the Inflation Reduction Act that was made-up money. When I pay people $2,000 each for low and moderate income and middle income people, everybody but the rich will get this. That's not made up. That's real money. That comes from other countries.
Mr. President, what are you doing on healthcare subsidies? People's pre-healthcare subsidies.
Obviously, people's pre-healthcare subsidies is a good question. So Obamacare, which is the Unaffordable Care Act, it is totally unaffordable. You see the kind of money the insurance companies are making, hundreds of billions of dollars. Their stock is up over 1,000% over a relatively short period of time. What we're going to be doing, what I'm going to be recommending, not this. Obamacare is a disaster, far too expensive and lousy healthcare. We're going to give the money to the people to buy their own healthcare. And the kind of money that we give to the insurance companies is more than going to take care of it. People are going to be able to buy their own health insurance, and it's going to be great healthcare, and they're going to get paid by the government. The government will be doing it. Will be one of the greatest deals this country's ever made. So instead of giving it to insurance companies, big, fat, bloated insurance companies, we're giving the money directly to the people to buy their own health care. Obamacare is the Unaffordable Care Act. We're giving the money directly to people to buy their own health care instead of insurance companies.
Another question. You asked for an investigation today. The people associated with Epstein, including Reid Hoffman, a major Democratic donor. What impact do you hope that kind of investigation could have on?
I don't know, but I heard they're appointing a U.S. attorney, and I hear a really good one to look into. And I hear Southern District is going to be looking at Jay Clayton, and, he's a great man, a great attorney, and he's a highly respected, one of the most respected people in the country in terms of law and law enforcement. As you know, he headed up the SEC. He was the head of Sullivan and Cromwell for years. He's one of the most respected people in the country. He's, been confirmed for the Southern District, and I heard Jay is going to be looking into it. Jay Clayton is a real, he's a real legal talent and a very, very legitimate person.
Mr. President, could you tell us why you needed to get an MRI? I understand that the results were good, but what was it for?
Because it's part of my physical. Getting an MRI is very sad. Why you think I shouldn't have it? Other people get typically an MRI. I had an MRI part of your body. Here's what the story is. I had an MRI. The doctor said it was the best result he has ever seen as a doctor. That's it. But I had an MRI as part of my standard yearly, or I think they do it every 2 years, but I have the physical every year, and the result was outstanding.
Was it your brain? Did you know?
I have no idea what they analyse, but whatever they analysed it well, and they said that I had as good a result as they've ever seen. Now, the other thing I took, as you know, very advanced test on mental acuity, because I think a president should have to do that. And as you probably heard, I aced it. I got a perfect score. I got the highest score. I got a perfect score. And the only reason I tell you that is it's one subject, unlike Biden and others, that you could take off your plan.
Are you meeting with lawmakers from Indiana next week on?
Not that I know. I might be. I don't know. They will. I guess they're making a decision as to whether or not they want again. For the Republican Party, 1 or 2 more. By the way, I will say this. I heard 1 or 2 more seats. I heard that a big lawsuit will be taking place, will be taking place concerning the California hoax, where they're trying to get 5 more seats. And California is one of the most dishonest elections ever. They send out tens of billions of ballots to people all over the place. Many of those people get 2 and 3 ballots and they come back. California's a disgrace on voting, and they're doing something that is very illegal. So we'll be suing California on the 5 seats. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.